This is part 2 of my custom cabinet build. If you didn't see part 1, I'll put a link in the upper right hand corner. This is the end of the cabinet that's going to accommodate the refrigerator. There's really nothing to support the bottom portion of the outside wall of the cabinet. Also, when I welded on that portion of the cabinet, it pulled in just slightly from the heat. So I need to put a brace on the bottom back side to support that outer wall. In one of my earlier videos, I showed how I converted a bar clamp into a pusher clamp. This would be a perfect example of how something like that would be handy. I'm going to use a piece of angle iron for a support. I'm going to use the threaded portion of the adjustable feet to hold the brace in place. I added a jam nut to the feet, so once I get the cabinet level, I can just screw the jam nut up to hold the angle iron tight up against the leg. So now I can finish adding the birch trim to the front of the cabinet. This piece is consistent with the wood grain to match the front panels on the cabinet. I'm making a mark so I'll know where to stop with the glue. Now that all the pieces are glued up, I can seal and stain the trim. I added an electrical outlet about 4 inches down from the top on the outside wall. And then I'll have another outlet on the inside for the refrigerator. I'll finish up the wiring when I get the cabinet outside. I found a 24-inch wide by 8-foot long butcher board at a local hardware store. I had to trim it to size, and then I stained it with dark walnut, the same as I did with the face of the cabinet. I put about 7 coats of oil-based polyurethane with a light sanding in between each coat. Now that I have it outside on the patio, I can start leveling. There's about a 2-inch drop over 7 feet away from the house. The reason for the drop is to shed any water away from the house if there was ever any flooding or water intrusion. Now I can use Tapcon screws to anchor it to the wall. Now I can finish up the wiring. When I built the frame, I welded cable hangers every so often. I'm using 14 gauge SJ00W cable. When I built the cabinet, I planned on utilizing this ground fault outlet. When you're wiring a plug, always make sure that the hot wire or the black wire goes on the brass colored screw, and the white neutral wire goes on the silver colored screw, and always connect the ground. And everything outside should be ground fault protected. Now I can put the countertop on without stepping on a chihuahua. I wasn't happy about the way it looked with the gap above the refrigerator. So I built a wooden box to go underneath the refrigerator to raise it up. In the toe kick area, I used cement board to hide the adjustable feet. If you were wondering why the upper middle drawer didn't have sides, it's because I put a toolbox on that shelf. So here's a before shot of the clutter. And here's an after shot of the new cabinet.